Hello, I'm Damian Barrett and welcome to Access All Areas. A terrific round of footy and 5 of the top 8 lost on the weekend. One of those teams was the Demons, who once again are failing to deal with expectation. Matthew Lloyd and Jimmy Bartel.
Thanks, Damo. Yeah, for me, there's been already a heavy reliance on Jake Lever. We see him go down. Also, big concerns for me, the back six, 2 out of the last 3 weeks, giving up 118 points yesterday and 133 points 3 weeks ago. For me, Lloydie, they haven't found their back six structure yet. They dropped Bernie Vince. It's just they're also getting hurt in transition from their midfield, which again puts their backline under pressure. Yeah,
St Kilda had 17 scoring shots from 26 inside 50s yesterday to half-time. And it's not a forward line you'd be that scared about at the moment. I think Battle's just been in 4 games. McCartan trying to find his feet. Membry's a good player, but still hasn't had the best year. Gresham's a star. But, yeah, they're in real trouble at the moment, Damo. They've got a lot of players out of form. They're the number 1 contested ball side, so you knew what you were getting a month ago. Now you wouldn't know what you're going to get.
The other teams know they're exposed when the ball comes out of their own forward line, don't they? Are they prepared to play them that way? And it happened yesterday. Alan Richardson had done his homework on that facet of the game.
Going into this game, Damo, they're the 16th ranked side for giving up scores once the ball leaves their forward 50, and they just played out to a T. They knew St Kilda going in, as you said, what they could see, what Jim just spoke about against the Collingwood Football Club. They were like witches' hats at times. Once the ball got on the outside, they were just exposed. Port Adelaide wasn't a bad effort, but this was as bad as they've played all year. But full credit to the Saints.
Yeah, you're right, Lloyd. The Saints certainly took the game on and were brave. Since three-quarter time against the Gold Coast, the last 5 quarters for the Saints have been what we've probably expected from them. That high energy, that high work rate. But all sides are doing is matching Melbourne within the contest because, as you said, they value that so highly. But if the ball gets on the outside, they're getting exposed and their back six is getting caught really high up the ground.
Lloydie, in the lower moments that Melbourne has had this year, you and others have commented on, is there a room for both Vince and Lewis in the one team? They dropped Vince for this particular game. How's Lewis going?
No, he's not going well. He's not going well. He's there for his kicking skills, but you need pressure further afield for Lewis to travel well, which isn't going on at the moment. But I think the time's come for Frost or Pedersen to be backed in. I don't think Tom McDonald should go back because then suddenly Jesse Hogan becomes the main man forward. So I think one of those has to be backed in because I look at some of these names. Petty, I know it's the first game, but you don't want to be relying on him. Oscar McDonald struggles without Lever there. You've got, and then you've got Joel Smith, who hasn't been in great form either, another youngster.
Yeah, for me, I think they can both play on the side, Lewis and Vince, but not both in the back line. And we see again another midfielder get a hold of them. I know they back themselves in and sides go, well, we'll try and win the footy. But Bernie Vince, when we remember his good footy, he was in the midfield doing run-with roles. He'd still win a lot of the footy, but he'd take on the best opposition midfielder.
The run-with component was introduced to Oliver's game yesterday when Jack Steele went with him. Just before half-time, he got himself involved in this situation, which then saw him on the bench for the first 8 minutes of the third quarter. He's obviously taken that tackle in a way that has resulted in a 50-metre penalty. It didn't seem to go down well with the club nor the coach.
I think opposition clubs would be watching this and saying, OK, well, Oliver, we've gone after him. How did he handle it? Well, I wouldn't say he handled it that well. And Simon Goodwin didn't like what he saw. Undisciplined acts, and that's where Melbourne have to ask themselves, are we as advanced as we thought we were? Or can we not handle the heat in the kitchen because it's getting that business end again and they're really failing?
OK, moving off the Demons, can they still win the flag, which was being mooted 3 weeks ago before these losses?
No, they can't.
Geez, they want to sharpen up a few things, especially their organisation around the ball, and they got a quick lesson. If you don't bring the intensity, they get exposed at the back.
Yep. It's an old-fashioned shootout, wasn't it, yesterday? Essendon versus North Melbourne. Really admire what the Bombers have done. After round 8, they lost to Carlton. They were 2-6 at that stage, have won 5 of their next 6 and have actually breathed some serious life back into their finals hopes.
They have, Damo. I was there yesterday and it was a great game of football and they've got a lot of players back in form. I think they've been led by, obviously, their captain, Dyson Heppel, and I think Zach Merritt through that midfield. And as a result, that forward line, you would have thought no Joe Danaher. What will happen to Essendon? They've been so dynamic forward of the ball.
It sounds strange, but they're playing to their strengths even more so. You lock Hooker back down at centre back, Stringer, back in the forward 50. But instead of playing that game, chipping sideways across in the back 50, they've got Sard, McKenna, even McGrath who comes back down there. Let's just get the ball in their hands and play with some real zip.
In the 10 seasons that Sean McKernan has played, he debuted in 2009. He's been a fringe player, and yet at times he has looked as though he can do things that others can't. He had one of those days yesterday, Buddy.
If he plays another VFL game this year, I would leave if I was Sean McKernan. I think now he's a 22 game a year forward ruckman, which teams are crying out for. They would love 17 teams to have a player, like even Richmond, the top team, someone who can relieve Nan Curvis and help out Jack Riewoldt. So I just think the time has come for him to be a lock.
Do you think he could be, say, the Josh Jenkins for the Bombers?
Yeah, I think so. I think he could be as good, maybe even better, because I think he's so consistent when he actually gets an opportunity. And I think Fantasia has made a massive difference. He was out for a lot of those losses as well.
I've been critical of the Lions, as others have. They got their second win of the season with a good win against the Dockers in Perth. They keep saying they're on the right track, and I suppose they've got a second win to justify that lofty claim.
Well, the thing I like what Fagan does is he actually gives them the opportunity to win. Now, we've seen a number of coaches who take over those young developing sides just try and prevent the damage each week, go into the game going, geez, we'll set it up so we don't lose by 10, 12 goals. He opens them up. Now, they can cop some beatings because of it, but they're learning very quickly how to play that attacking style of football and then trying to defend off the back of that.
For all the plaudits the Dockers got, beating obviously the Crows and the Blues, they handed it all back yesterday. They were so poor, they were flat. Obviously lost Sandilands and Fife. That was a horrible performance. One of their worst in the last 3 years.
Really?
Yeah, it was horrible.
6 and 8 now and looking lethargic. Look, so many things have gone wrong for the Adelaide Crows from even before the season started, yet so much went right in the final quarter of this must-win game against the Eagles. Tom Doedee got his first goal in footy. Tex Walker then stood up in a way that only he can at times. And look, they play like that again. At 7 and 7, there's still some sort of hope.
Well, the injuries have certainly taken their toll, and it's amazing when you get back your really top-end talent and playing well. Laird, 32, Crouch, 32 as well. Tex was moving super well. Look, they've had a tough time on and off the field, but 24 inside 50s to 4 for the Crows. They were completely dominant in that last quarter, Lloydie.
And I love the emotion of Don Pike, which we'll see shortly, but Curtly Hampton, he kicked a great goal. So there's just moments in this game. They were like circuit breaker moments for this football club. They just needed something, and just for our last quarter to happen like this just brings back just some emotion that they needed and some excitement in the footy club. And as I said, Don Pike, I think he's got to show more. I think the players would love to see Don Pike show a little bit more and inspire them in one way. And the West Coast, Damo, they were on the flip side of that. As Jimmy said, it was 24 to 4 inside 50s. And we all look at Darling and we look at LaCrara, we look at Kennedy, but their midfield has been really poor the last 3 weeks. So I think it's so much more than just those forwards that they've got out.
Nick Nat's dropped off too, Jimmy.
He has, and also another name out. Look, I know he's not a big superstar, but Barras, what he allows McGovern and even Yo to do, because he can go put the arm across and allows them to play that zone off, intercept marking, and they kept trying to shuffle those two back and forward to kick a score, but then also had to defend as well.
Yep, they've lost their past 3, the Eagles, and the GWS Giants, by contrast, have won their past 4. And again, as we sit here after round 15, they're a hope, aren't they, again?
You wouldn't want to play them. Yeah. They play West Coast this week, actually, so it should be a great game. But their midfield's back, isn't it, Jim?
Oh, they absolutely smacked them, Hawks, on the weekend. Plus 50 in contested possessions. They dominated clearances, and that's what scares sides, is when that midfield group gets up and running, led by the skipper, Cal Ward, your Shield, Kelly, Cornelio, and then Lockie Whitfield as your 5th one to come in. You're pretty rich there in the midfield.
Yep. OK, an incident in that game, it dragged out the conversation has been coming through AFL circles in recent times about Alex Rance being a diver. It was raised, ironically, by Ben Stratton, a defender for the Hawks, who had this exchange with the umpire.
Let it go. Free's been paid. Walk. Take him away. Tim, take him away. Time that guy.
That's almost a Rancy dive. Can you, it's a Rancy dive.
Never saw it.
Can you play footy or not? It's almost a Rancy dive. Can you, it's a Rancy dive.
Oh, it would great. I've got nothing against Stratton or Frawley there, but it would grate on Alex Rance that whenever someone dives, they're saying it's a Rancy dive. So that's something he wouldn't like. It would hurt him inside.
Would it?
I think it would. Yeah, I think it would, because he's such a great player. Yet whenever someone dives, they're saying it's a Rancy dive.
You've reflected on that yourself,
Yeah.
in terms of how people view you long beyond your retirement. Do you think it's got to that stage with Rance now, don't you?
Well, it's proven now. Yeah, that's sort of, it's not a salvage. There's been a salvage shrug. They could have said it's a Lindsay Thomas dive, but they say no, it's a Rancy dive, which deep down he would hate that.
Yep. Jimmy, Collingwood's second on the ladder.
Yes.
What's going on?
What's going on is they're playing super footy and they've got an amazing amount of depth. Treloar obviously out is a huge loss, but Thomas steps up and fills the void. They bring in young Braden Sear. I hope I got that one right there. But they've just got a number of players who can really just step up and hit the scoreboard. But Lloydie, Jaden Stevenson, for me, is the lock at the moment for the Rising Star because of his importance to their structure.
What I love about these clips here is, so he can get you out the back. He just lost the player there. You know, he just turned him inside out. Then you've got him coming up at the ball. So he can turn you inside out. Then he's too quick for them on the lead, so he can do that sort of hit up. He's got everything in his game, so we'll move on to the next one. Just that run inside 50, he gets linked up. Hoskin Elliott's kicked 30 goals as well, so we shouldn't forget him. So he's got the poise, the balance to go left, can go right. And then this one was phenomenal. This is on the captain, Stephen May. Just that deft touch, just to work him under the ball and then get back on the. So I just said to Damo, you know, off air, that I just can't remember a first-year player having such an important role in a team that's top 2 on the ladder at the moment. So it's fantastic. Their next month, though, Damo, they've got the Bombers, West Coast, North, Richmond, and then, Sydney on the 5th week. So they've won 11 of 13, but only 2 of those have been top 8 sides at the time. So they're challenges that are coming.
We're going to know in the next 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Lloydie, as one of the all-time great goal kickers, let's go through what happened with Harry Taylor after the siren for the Geelong game against the Western Bulldogs. You can see the score for those who haven't caught up with it. This goes through, they win the game of footy. Things went wrong, didn't they? You
want to be up tall, you want to be up straight. He is slumped. The ball went to where he was running, so that just wasn't what Harry Taylor would have liked. So you can't be slumped, have your body weight going backwards. We see it from behind the guys. Look where he's actually running. The ball goes, little steps, so not fluent at all, and that's the reason he missed that one, Jim, but you've got one of his better kicks.
Yeah, the one from 50. Now, this is the difference. This is how Harry Taylor kicks around the ground, and obviously from 50, he drives through the footy. He's a thumping and actually a really nice kick. From 30 metres out, or the really in-close ones, he does prefer the kick, as we say, the lob wedge.
Take us through the psyche of the man. He's a bit different, isn't he? He's wired differently.
Yeah.
And he's always like as you say, the wedge kick when he's closer to goal. Why doesn't he drill it like he just did in that second shot?
Yeah, I'm not sure. He is a deep thinker of the game and all things. And look, I can only guess, and when I've spoken to him, when we used to do goal kicking practice, he feels like drop the ball straight, swing the legs straight on those short ones, it should go through. But it has that higher trajectory. And as you said, Lloydie, you do have the tendency to fall back on the kick, and then they fall out to the left for him. But when he gets around the ground and kicks those long 50 ones, he's such a powerful and straight kick. You often wonder why he just doesn't take that.
Have you had that conversation with him?
Yeah, we always used to chat about it over goal kicking, but, you know, you leave a player up to their own devices. Yeah.
Hey, Damo, when I say stay tall, think of Ben Brown when he kicks the ball. Everything's just tall going through the ball, whereas Harry Taylor's just slumped. He was never going to kick that one.
Cats, Jimmy, while they've been finishing in top 4 positions, they blooded 8 players last year, and already to this point of this season, they've given 6 players their first AFL game of footy. Is their bottom 6, is their depth just leaving them exposed at that absolute high end?
I think always your bottom 6 does, and I think if you go through every side apart from Richmond, this is what makes Richmond so good, is their bottom 6 still contribute, even though they mightn't have big possession games. And I mean it respectfully to a lot of their small forwards. They mightn't have, 10, 15 touches, but they might have half a dozen kick a couple of goals or apply some pressure that hits the scoreboard, where Geelong and a number of sides who are, I guess we call them contending, their bottom 6, when they play badly, they're non-existent or they don't have any impact on the game. So that's an issue for them, is you want them having... If you're going to have a bad day, don't have a horrible day. You just still got to keep contributing.
The ferocity of the Bulldogs in that game was 2016 style, wasn't it? And it came after the traumatic, in a footy sense, week they had when they lost a narrow one to North Melbourne in the last 20 seconds.
Oh, it's been great to watch them live the last 2 weeks, and I don't think we should underestimate getting Marcus Adams back and Dale Morris in defence. It's added to their structure. It's allowed for Ed Richards to go forward. And we also saw Brad Lynch, just his kicking. So they've got Lynch and they've also got Ed Richards. Just the skill level just is fantastic for them. So I think when you're down, Toby McLean's gone to a new level. When you're down as a football club, you want kids. You just want to see hope from your kids. And I think Adams and also Morris have allowed for guys like Shaki to play forward, Ed Richards to go forward, Gowers to go to a new level. So it's been a brilliant forward line for the fortnight for the Western Bulldogs.
Carlton did what they have done regularly. Was okay against Port Adelaide. Didn't win the game of footy, but Levi Casbolt's inclusion in the team is going to come under scrutiny, I think, between now and the rest of the season, with Harry Mackay, Jimmy, now having a run of it in the twos.
Yeah, he didn't have a great game, Big Levi, but what Carlton would probably say is his physical presence, having a young side, they just want him to create a contest, and you can't have so many young players in the side, and that's what Carlton be thinking. As long as Levi can give us a contest and provide a bit of protection and cover, but being a senior player, he still has to hit the scoreboard though, Lloydie.
Yeah, I'd bring Mackay in for at least a couple of weeks. He's been out for so long. He's the future of your football club, so maybe just give him another couple of runs before the season's out.
Jimmy, you've got your favourites, and one of your favourites this year is a first-year player from Richmond, Jack Higgins.
Yeah, I do love Snags Higgins, just because he's unfiltered. And if you want to ISOCAM one, watch Dusty Martin or Grimes as Snags here tries to give an inspirational speech, and the laughter coming out of it. But this is Richmond. They're playing free, they're playing easy. And, you can just see they're all playing for each other as well. You wonder what was being said in there. And I did hear one of the Richmond players say, I just couldn't understand him, full stop.
That's why they love it.
That's why they love it so much.
I reckon he did it once, Damo, and Cochin said it just broke the ice. So he said, let's just stick with it. It's been amazing.
And that was one half-time incident. You got another one?
Yeah, we've got the West Coast boys here, just trying to keep nice and loose, free and easy. And look, if you can dance like that, why not? But the best bit here is Liam Ryan actually notices the camera's on him. Oh, there we go. That's what I was up to. Out we go, boys.
Absolutely love it. Jimmy, thank you.
Thanks,
Matty
Damo.
Lloyd, thank you. And thanks for watching Access All Areas. We'll see you next Monday. Have a good week. Goodbye.